enemy number one. Creeping like a communist, it's knocking at our doors, turning all our children into hooligans and whores.
This clip was a section in the musical reincarnation of the movie Reefer Madness, imagined by William Randolph Hearst. It contains highly exaggerated and negative views on marijuana use, but was the beginning of marijuana debates around the country.
William Randolph Hearst was one of the primary contributors to the controversial topic of marijuana use. His early film, Reefer Madness, focused on all the adverse effects this drug had on the users. He focused a lot on the teen use in his movie, pointing out different effects such as impaired driving skills that would cause you to drive off the road and run over old people, or smoking marijuana causing you to go insane and jumping out of a window. These are all exaggerated ideas, none of which are true, but they are based on fears of what this drug can actually do to teens. This led to the debate over teen drug use and how dangerous it really was. This also led to topics such as cocaine, methamphetamine, opiate use, all these other drugs that are present to teens. If they need to find them, it's relatively easy. Surveyed teens have always said that marijuana is easier for them to find than alcohol. This just shows how easy it is for teens to access drugs and how dangerous they could be. Why are so many teens turning to drug use? One of the ever-present answers in that question is stress. All teens have to face stress in one way or another, whether it be from interaction between their peers every day at high school, or an outside job, or family problems, or any other circumstances in their lives that cause them stress. They have to face it in one way or another. One of the ways they try and get away from the stress or to make themselves feel free is through drug use. They think that using these drugs is going to make them feel a lot better, it's going to solve all their problems. What they don't realize is all these drugs are going to do is just cause more problems for them and enhance the stress that they are already feeling. Teens are the lifeblood of our community. If they use drugs, it will not only affect them as an individual, but everyone around them. Teenagers are the members of our community with brand new licenses and brand new cars that they can barely operate. They're the ones with the jobs where they have to constantly interact with the public. We need to worry about what they aren't going to worry about. We need to keep the rest of the people in our community safe.
If students continue to smoke marijuana, it may cause them to be lazy, undetermined, and may even cause damage in the frontal lobe if started at a young age. John Walters, a director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, says that marijuana, quote, impairs learning and interferes with memory, perception, and judgment, unquote. He proceeds to discussing some physical harms of smoking marijuana and how it, quote, has been implicated in a high percentage of automobile crashes and workplace accidents, unquote. Despite seeing the professional's opinion, I can't help but think that this only applies to some people rather than all. I have witnessed many people function perfectly fine under the influence, since many of them use it for medicinal purposes. These people have all been adults, but what about prescribing medical marijuana to teenagers? An article in Biological Psychiatry asks this very question. Results vary in each person as well as their environments, but smoking marijuana as a teen, quote, is a modest statistical risk factor for psychotic symptoms in adulthood, such as hallucinations and delusions, as well as clinically significant schizophrenia. Again, symptoms such as these only develop in some teen marijuana users and cannot be applied to all people. That being said, the fact that marijuana can cause psychotic symptoms in teens as they get older should be enough of a reason to not allow teens to smoke medical marijuana. Among those are effects on the respiratory system and impaired judgment, unquote. It is understandable why Burns feels as he does. Since teenagers can be so impressionable on each other, one teen smoking marijuana may lead to many. This is primarily bad because we not only run the risk of turning some students into unmotivated and lazy individuals, but run the risk of affecting their adulthood as well by triggering psychotic symptoms. But what if marijuana was legalized? Would teens be allowed to get it then? Scott Burns, spokesman of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, claims that legalizing marijuana will attract teens like moths to a flame. He also claims that if teens can smoke marijuana, they will. Quote, If kids see marijuana as a medicine, they're apt to dismiss its harms.
How were you introduced to drugs?
I was about 8 or 9 years old, and my mom was having a party, and her friends were passing around this funny smelling cigarette, and I asked her what it was, and after the party, she told me that it was a marijuana joint, and explained everything about marijuana to me, and then basically got me high. After that, between my mom and my friends, I pretty much tried all the drugs out there. It was really easy because I didn't have that parent at home going, oh no, you can't do that. I had that parent at home going, oh, well, if you're going to do it at home, so I know what you're doing.
How did drugs affect your school life?
Because my mom also used drugs. We moved like every year, literally every year. I moved 11 times in 12 years. So I didn't stay at a school as very long. I'd start making friends and have to go to a different school because we moved and stuff. So it was really, really hard. When we finally settled down, and I actually spent like 2 years in the same school, and then my mom just had some bad times, and she decided to move to a different state. And it was my senior year of high school. I didn't know anybody, and I was in a totally new state. And then like my mom got really hooked on prescription and painkillers and tried to kill herself. And, you know, basically didn't want me around. So I just came back to California. And when I graduated high school, I basically walked into some guy's office, and he went over a filing cabinet and handed me my diploma and said, here you go, have a nice life.
If teenagers use harder drugs such as methamphetamine, cocaine, prescription drugs, etc., will cause them more problems now and more problems later on in life. According to newdoctor.co.uk, quote, some medications, for example, certain sleeping pills or painkillers, are physically addictive. They have a specific effect on the body which leads to tolerance and withdrawal symptoms. Others may lead to a psychological addiction if people have a craving for the effect that the drug causes, unquote. This means that even when teens claim they aren't addicted to a drug or can stop at any time, they truly are physically addicted, and quitting would be a difficult task to accomplish. In order to get a more personal feel about the issue, I interviewed a woman who wishes to remain anonymous about her experience with drug addiction and how it affected her life. What drugs have you had experience with? Her response, I have had experience with marijuana and methamphetamine. How were you first introduced to the drugs? Her response, I was first introduced to marijuana by my friends in high school, and who introduced me to meth was my older sister. How did these drugs affect your teenage life? Her response, these drugs affected my teenage life enormously. I didn't so much with the weed, but the meth really screwed up my life. During my high school years, these drugs made me feel lazy and made me not care about anything else going on in my life.